when you talk about the productive economy, is this because I've heard you say this about China that it is planning on developing new productive forces? And so basically, is China doing what you're saying? Can you expand on what this exactly means for China? And also, you mentioned DeepSeek. The open source aspect of DeepSeek seemed to be a game changer, but again, I'm just curious how much that is sustainable in this world that we live in. And even though we are not apparently, now I'm learning that we are not necessarily in as US economic world as I thought, they're surely going to try, they have been trying to dismantle it. Um,
They've been trying to stall China's rise,
Still
yes.
China's rise, and especially with DeepSeek, and can you sort of break all that down for us?
Sure. So the first question was, in what way does China have a better managed economy, a more productive, more egalitarian economy? And I would say that it's because China has a socialist market economy. So obviously there is a market economy. Obviously there are some big corporations in China, but at the end of the day, the overall planning and direction of the economy is in the hands of the Communist Party of China. And its main priority seems to be that while of course it is important to allow considerable technological and other development to take place, at the same time it has to take a broadly egalitarian form. And for a while it looked as though this had been forgotten. Inequality rose a lot in China and so on, but more recently, with the extreme poverty eradication drive, with the anti-corruption drive, and also with the drive to develop the new productive forces, which means making a lot of investment in research and development in a variety of technological fields, making huge investments in the university system, etc. All of these things are working in China's favor. Overall, what's happening is that China is winning by essentially making its economy, as I say, more egalitarian. Because, when you make economy more egalitarian, you also expand demand. When you expand demand, investment conditions are very good because more and more people who are entrepreneurs will invest, etc. And at the same time, there is also some evidence that the big corporations in China, in fact, I even read this being reported as a complaint in some, maybe in the Financial Times or something, that Chinese corporations are willing to take a lower rate of profit than American corporations, which means they're not as greedy. Okay, they are still making big profits, but they're not expecting the kind of astronomical profits that have made the US economy so unequal and also, of course, financialized and so on. And ultimately, I think it's a question of the fact that the Communist Party of China has overall control over the orientation and direction of the economy. I think this is what matters the most to my mind.
So yeah, this question is about DeepSeek. How important is the open source aspect of DeepSeek, and is that sustainable in the current market?
Well, there's a many different aspects to it. Earlier, I said that DeepSeek has upended the Silicon Valley model. And one of the ways in which it has upended the Silicon Valley model is the Silicon Valley model is based on closed source proprietorial systems in which, you sort of keep certain aspects of your technology secret so that you are able to dominate the system and manipulate it and so on. And that's supposed to allow you to somehow keep your technological advantage. But actually, it never does. As DeepSeek has shown, you can keep as many secrets as you like. But since the technology was evolved by one or a few human minds, one or a few human minds elsewhere can easily replicate it, even if you don't tell them the secret. Because at the end of the day, human ingenuity is what is needed. And that's what DeepSeek has shown. So having a closed source model doesn't help. And of course, having that sort of closed proprietorial model also means that you are preventing the system from spreading. When a system spreads, what it does is, for example, I remember the years during which I was forced to shift from a word processing program I really liked, it was called Word Perfect, to Microsoft Word, because Microsoft Word had become the industry standard and it was just too much to keep resisting it and so on. So I ended up using that. But that is still a proprietorial model. And there can be other sorts of models that can emerge as well, and so on. But being open source means that not only does it spread very quickly and everybody adopts it willingly, not resentfully, but also as they develop it, they add to the richness of your model, they add to the complexity and the strengths of your model. And I think that DeepSeek will see that because, Marx had said many years ago, like 150 years ago or more, that a time will come when capitalism will also, like previous modes of production, cease developing the forces of production. And most people who call themselves Marxists today don't believe that. They still believe that capitalism is the best at developing the forces of production and will always be. Like socialism will never. But unfortunately, DeepSeek has shown that actually socialism can be better at this than capitalism. So the point I want to make is that capitalism may have developed the forces of production, but it did it in a brutal and anarchic fashion by exploiting people, by imposing a lot of suffering on people, both working people in Western countries, before the Second World War and even after, and then also today working people in third world countries, because capitalism does not work without imperialism. In all of these ways, capitalism has exacted a huge cost for what little development it has done of the forces of production. But now, increasingly, we seem to be living in a time when, particularly because of the nature of certain technologies, that, it involves human knowledge and human participation, that it is probably better developed outside the realm of private property. And I think that's what we will be seeing, provided that if DeepSeek benefits humanity by being open source, but also reciprocally benefits from the efforts humanity makes within its realm, because it will make it more complex, more solid, more developed, more sophisticated, etc., then you will see that actually this is a reciprocal relationship with human creativity from which DeepSeek will also benefit. And I would say that this scenario will probably apply to many other technologies as well. So I would say that DeepSeek's open source character is probably its strength. Let me just give you another example. The fact that you can have payment systems in China today, when I go to China today and I try to pay by cash, I feel like a dinosaur because everybody is paying with phones and so on. And I just don't have the right kind of phone. So I'm there for a few days. So I pay with my cash. But the point is that actually these systems are better developed on a public basis rather than on a private basis. So that's partly why payment systems are still very much behind in the United States, which is supposed to be this great leading power in information technology and so on. But it cannot develop these things because every bank has its own proprietary system and so on. So